Hey guys, this time at the Quick Speed Shop, check this out, bam! We're building a custom rear bumper for my 80 Dodge short box, and it's kind of neat. It's got a Frenched in license plate, it's got some doodads on the end, it's 2x6 rectangular steel tubing, and it mimics kind of a sport bumper for these trucks from back in the day, and I love it. So let's get out the grinder and the welder and start fabricating. So let's get started. What I wanted to put on the back of this truck, it had a step bumper on it originally that had rusted and fallen off, like a aftermarket one. But I like on these short box trucks, I'll call it like the sport rear bumper, or like the Ram Charger style rear bumper, where it's it looks like the front bumper, but it goes on the back and it's not a step, it's just like a stylized bumper. And so I've been looking for one of those. They're very hard to find. I don't think they repop them, or if they do, they're like $400 or $500. Used ones are hard to find. People want $200-300 for used ones. So after I got done building the front one, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna build my own like stylized rear bumper. So I had my buddy Jordan, when he was at the scrap yard, pick me up a piece of 2x6 11 gauge tubing, and we're gonna use this to build the rear bumper. So I don't know if you can tell, it's just a touch too short for the side of the truck, but we got a plan for that. These are drops. I didn't want to buy prime steel because prime steel is horrendously expensive, but when you get it in the drop piece, it's basically like I think $1 a pound or something like that for scrap price. So this is like, I don't know, might not even be that much. This piece, I bought 2 of these pieces plus a couple other pieces there. It was like $100. It's just shy enough, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a little detail to the end. So I got some 11 gauge 2.5 inch square tubing. And I think we're going to cut the side of the steel at an angle, and we're going to add this to the edge, and it's going to have just a little bit of reveal because this is 2.5. Got some rounded edges here. It's going to have like a little detail piece. And I might even kick it up like an inch and a half above the end of the bumper, kind of like to finish it off, but it'll be at an angle to match the side of the box, if you can kind of envision that, and something like that. And we'll just box it in, and this is just for fun. Just make our own little bumper. I've got it leveled up here on jack stands where it's level to the box. Don't go by this line here. This piece of sheet metal under the bed is all twisted up and bent, so it might look like it's crooked. But I measured off the tailgate, and it's the same there, and it's the same distance to the bed, and it's like centered on the truck. And you can also see it's like centered on the hitch. I added this receiver hitch. I think it's off a Ford, like an 80s Ford F250, but it bolted up to the frame rails that I made for it. So it might be a little lower than an actual receiver for one of these trucks, but it's fine. The way the height of the truck sits, it's perfect for height for me. And this isn't going on the road, but I can haul trailers around in the yard, or, you know, I got someplace put a strap around it for the winter time. If I get stuck, I can go right around the receiver. So I don't need any hooks or nothing on the bumper. It's just going to be like smooth-ish. But I don't want it to be too smooth, so we're going to do a little bit of fanciness to it. I think the first thing I want to do is build some kind of license plate surround, and I want to put the plate, you know, on the stylized bumper. The plate was in the center, and it was kind of like Frenched into the bumper. It might even like been cut up around and had a piece of sheet metal that bolted behind it, I believe. So we're going to do something similar to that. And I was trying to get an eyeball up and down and stuff, and I got an idea. I got a couple pieces of scrap steel here, but we're going to cut the center of this tubing out, and we're going to French the plate into the center of the tube and mimic the stock look of the license plate mount on the original bumper. I think right about there is going to look good in the center. I thought about doing an asymmetrical plate, and a lot of times see people do stuff like this. They'll just like zip screw the plate to the side of the bumper offset, which I love offset license plates. That's why it's offset in the front, and I love on the rear it would be offset to the left is usually where I would do it, something like that. So I kind of like the look of that. I thought about doing that, and then just leaving this all smooth, but I think it's gonna be a little more fancier to try to French it in and do this a little bit. So let's get this piece up on the table, or actually let's start on the framework. So if you look here, I've got a piece of 1.5 by 1 tubing, and I think I'm gonna make a box or make a 3-sided piece, and we're gonna French it in the bumper at an angle. So we're gonna start with a top piece of 1.5 inch, and then I'm going to come up here on the edges, and I got some 1-inch square tubing. We're going to grind a little bit of an angle on here, and we're going to lay this down so it'll be flush on the outside, and then go down to 1 inch on the bottoms, which will go from 1.5 inches to 1, and it'll give us a little bit of slope. And then we're going to weld the plate in on a piece of steel like this behind it to hold it. So if you can see the angle there, I don't know if you can tell from where you're at, but it'll end up being angled, but this will be a little bit wider. So we're going to make a frame, and then we're going to French this whole thing into the center of the rectangular steel bumper. I think it'd be kind of cool. How was that? Oh, that's perfect. There we go. So that'll just go up there and give us a little bit of an angle to dangle right there on our action. I like that. That's going to look pretty good right there. And probably mount the plate down like 1/4 inch from the top, but like 1 inch from the side, so that will give it a little bit of nice feel there. I like it. So we'll just flap wheel this one. I'll tack this guy together. I got a piece of 4-inch wide flat stock to weld in the bottom here, which is going to be a little shy. I might have to piece a piece in, but I don't have any wider flat stock at the moment. I have some sheet metal, but do we need to add? Let's see, let's think about this. How's that look? Let's take a look. If you guys are wondering how I clean the metal up so nice, Summit Racing sent me this little belt sander thingamajig. I forget the name of it. It's the Restorer. And they sell it. It's like the Eastwood. Eastwood makes that bigger metal strip and drum piece, and which I have one of those, but that's super big for doing, you know, great big panels. This little guy is smaller. It's got adjustable speed. It's got this like really heavy duty strip and drum in it, and it's a little bit smaller and lightweight. You can hook a vacuum cleaner up to it, but I use it to take the mill scale off steel now, and it works perfect for that with a super aggressive thing. I just go root and clean the metal off, and it takes the mill scale right down, or at least marks it up, or sands metal, and it puts a nice finish on it for primer and stuff like that. So they sent me that a while ago, and because I had the big Eastwood one, I didn't really have a use for it until I realized that it's perfect for doing metal like this. So now I've been using it all the time. So thanks, Summit Racing. So now you can see from the side, we got our angle there, angle to dangle. So it will stick out of the bumper at an angle. We're going to put the flat stock in here, like I got the plate angle like this, so this piece will be on an angle going in, sinking into the bumper, and the plate will be flat. So I have a piece of 4-inch flat stock that we're going to skin the back of it with it. Where's that at? Say hello to my little friend. Perfect. Now I'll show you what the Restorer can do. We got this little bit of rust and mill scale on it. Now, it's not going to burn through all the mill scale unless you're like worked it forever and ever, which I'm not going to do, but it will take the rust and stuff off. I cleaned that up good enough for what we're doing. So now This guy is going to get welded in here at an, oops, I got this upside down. This guy's going to get welded in here at an angle, pretty much. Just like that. That's how we do. So now this guy will go bam there and come out to being flush like that. What I do need to do though, because this is only 4" and the bumper, it's going to be in the bumper 5", I need to add another piece of 1" flat stock or 2" flat stock to the bottom to get out, or 1.5", something to get past the 5" mark. And you won't really see the seam because it'll be behind the plate, and we can butt weld it here and grind it so you don't see the seam. It doesn't really matter, but the plate is going to do something like that. Well, that was a lot of cutting. Let's see how we did here. You notice I put the weld seam on the back, because when you're building stuff it's going to show. You always want to put your weld seam from your tubing on the back. They roll this out of flat metal, then they weld it together. So here is our license plate. I welded it up. I added a piece of actually angle iron upside down to the bottom of it to give it some strength. And like I said, I butt welded it here where the license plate would show. So it's going to kind of make a flat piece here. So that looks good. These are long, they're going to get cut off, but that's how that looks, all welded up and ground off. Now I trimmed it here. I notched these to fit here down in, but I left this, stopped it up, so this will hopefully weld to the bottom of this somehow. So let's set it in here and see. 1, does it fit? Oh yeah. 2, what's it going to look like? So, oh, that's going to be pretty cool. Yeah. So we can lean this out how much I want. I want to go out about 1" or so. Maybe there. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. It's going to fit awesome. I think that's going to look pretty neat. You get the idea. Oh, actually, this does hang down. Where's that angle iron go? Oh, perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. So we'll be able to trim this off at an angle here and put a little detail here, just kind of rolled up around. And we'll weld all this solid. I'll box in them corners, but I will tip it out just a little bit more, get a little more pronounced action. There, I give us a little detail. That's going to be kind of cool. Just something a little bit special. How does it look there versus there? Stand it up and get a look. That's awesome. Yeah, that's going to be cool. I'm just going to go and slowly weld this in. And we'll have a neat Frenched-in license plate. All right, after a lot of grinding and cutting, we got her dialed in here. I jumped ahead just a little bit. I cut the ends off at an angle and I added the pieces of 2.5 inch tubing and I cut them 1 inch above the top just for a little detail there. And they're just tacked on because it's getting late and I don't want to weld tonight. But it looks good. You might have saw in the time lapse I was banging the bumper on the ground a couple times. Once I cut the whole one side of the tubing open and then started welding on it, it put like a 1/16 of a bow into it and it wouldn't sit flat on the table anymore. So I was trying to bang it on the floor and it was hot to try to reverse that. It don't take much to move stuff around, especially tubing. When you cut a big chunk out of the side of it, it wants to move around. But it's not going to matter for what we're doing here. So let's set it back on the truck. I haven't set it on the truck at all since you guys saw it on there last. So let's take a peek and see what it looks like. Uh-oh. Oh, wait. Way off center. Hold on a minute. Where is center? More. I should put a center mark on the tailgate so I can line it up. Still not centered. Whoop, the welder's in the way. Watch out. How about that? Is that better? Neato. All right, so those little end caps put it out past the end of the box for a little bit of corner protection. Bang into the bumper before you hit anything else with it. Let me get back where you guys are looking and see what it looks like. Oh, that looks pretty cool. Yeah. Gives it a little bit of style. Yeah, I think it looks pretty neat. It sticks out here just a little bit. Of course, I'll measure it before we weld it onto the mounts. Let's see what it looks like going past here. Oh yeah, it sticks out just a little bit past the truck. There, kind of like the front bumper up there sticks out past the truck. So there we go. We got some corner protection, but it's not real obtrusive. Man, I love the license plate surround. I'll probably end up taping this off with some tape and putting a smear of seam sealer with my finger on it just to flow all these welds together. You could add like Duraglass and bodywork that and sand it around and blend it, but I'm not going to do that for the plow truck bumper, obviously. But it does, you could spend a lot more time with a band file. You could weld all this, build it up, and then sand it all smooth and make it, blend it all, make it all metal finished. We're not going to do that for this little project. This is just for fun, just for a plow truck, just to do something different, but to make kind of a neat rear bumper for the thing. And I think that looks pretty sweet. It's going to kind of be neat how it's going to work out. Does the tailgate open and hit the bumper? That's the next question. Nope. How much room we got? Oh yeah, we got plenty of room. Perfect. Let's hold the plate up to it and see how that's going to look in there. I center punched the holes to put the nutserts in it. Oh, that's going to be super cool. All right, it's the next day. You can see it's actually warm-ish. It's not freezing anyway, so I got the door open. and we can see all kinds of stuff. There's the Diplomat. So the next day here, I went and I found I had some vintage New York State commercial plates that I threw on this thing from the 80s. They ran those plates from like the late 70s up to 86, I think. And so they'll fit the genre of this truck. It's going to be awesome. And it bolts on there and looks good. So what we need to do is get some mounts mounted to the frame. And I just happened to make some out of this 1.5 by like 4. I think it's 4. Yeah, it looks like 4. Sure. By 1.5 C-channel. And they're going to bolt to the frame and stick out, and then we're just going to butt weld these right to the bumper, since this is just to hold the bumper to the truck and it's not a hitch or nothing. It'll be fine. And then we can weld up the rest of the bumper. And like I said, I don't have any paint enough to paint it, but we can paint it, the back of it black, and then I'll just get some silver hammer tone and hammer tone it later. So let's get the bumper off, and then I marked these, they're going to stick out 4 3/4 inches to get the bumper where it's at now. So I'll just line up the end of the frame with that line and then drill some holes and bolt her on. Some grade 8 bolts, we'll be good to go. Come here, bumper. Ah. So which one is which here? This is this side. And I got the C-channel frame that I fixed when I did the back of the frame, so I can just drill right through that. And as long as these are straight-ish, you can just weld them right to the bumper like that. Whoops. So I'm going to clamp these up in place right to the side of the frame, but when I go to weld it, I'm going to use some spacers between the frame rail and the mount, because I learned last time if you go and just weld this guy, or bolt them to the frame tightly and then weld them, they move around and get tight on you, and then you got a heck of a job trying to get the bumper on later. So this way I'll be able to what am I trying to say? You'll use like a washer for a spacer. That way when I weld it, if it moves, it'll still have a little bit of clearance to be able to get it up on there. I'm just trying to eyeball to make sure this is level. Oops, right about there. And it's right on the line. Get one more clamp. Reach in here with a, whoops, not this guy, that's the big one. Reach in here. Reach in here with this guy. Watch the taillight wiring, don't pinch that. There we go. Boom. All right, let me just drill these out and I'll bolt them up to the truck, and then we'll stick the bumper back on and we'll tack her into place. And I'll probably straighten this out a little bit before I put the bumper back on, throw some black paint on that. I could fix it where it's rusted away over there, but probably not going to, because it doesn't really matter. This is just, is what it is. But this is all bent up here. I might as well straighten that out. All right, the mounts are bolted on with washer spacers, and I think we are ready to tack these guys into place. Can I do it from up here? I've got to hold the bumper. Oop. Did it move at all? Nope. Got to hold the bumper where it goes. Can I get in here? Kind of. Oh, shoot. I don't have the ground hooked up. Where is it? It's over here. Let's try it again. One more time. There we go. Double check. Yep. Yep. Okay. So let me double check my measurements here. 1 3/4 inch. 1 3/4. Perfect. Let me step back and get an eyeball for center. I mean, it looks, I think it's as good as it's gonna get. Can I get down under here and get down on it? So you tack overhead and burn yourself with the welder. Ah. Oh, I just heard it. It's crack-a-lacking. Get another couple of tacks on her before she moves. Yeah. Alright, you guys probably seen enough time-lapse welding for one video here. I'm going to unbolt it, just weld her on up. Oh, you see this hole here? This is where I can shoot my fluid film inside the bumper. And so it won't rust out. I'll stick the wand in there and spray some fluid film inside the bumper after I paint it. And then I'll rust-proof my custom bumper. That'll be pretty fun. Alright, here's the bumper. I got the end caps all welded up nice. And I got our mounts welded on here. Man, it looks pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. And then on the front side, we got our this ground down here. Looks pretty good. I think I'm going to blow some primer on it now, but I think I'm going to tape this off and put a little seam sealer on, like I said, around these welds just on the outside where it shows. Other than that, it's going to be good. Should mount up to the truck mint because I use them spacers. We'll go ahead and get it primed up right now. Like I said, I'll paint it black on the back here, and then we'll just paint it hammer tone on the front surface where it's going to show, because that's all I care about. And I don't really want to get primer fumes on my cop car, which is right you guys are sitting on, so hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully the wind doesn't blow for like the next couple of seconds. Not that it really matters, because that car's paint is wrecked and needs to be completely repainted, but we might as well not make it gray primer if we don't have to. Because it all appears to be going that way. Dang it. There we go, that's better. Get a little way farther away from the blast zone. All right, it's the next night after work, and I painted the bumper. I went to Lowe's and I bought some more of this Krylon hammered paint, but this can was all weird. Oh, it didn't sound right when it shook. It sounded really weird, and when I sprayed it, like a bunch of like white goo came out of the can, like the paint head wasn't mixed, and I shook it some more, and there must be something wrong internally on it. So then it started throwing out globs of silver paint, so I just like put it on super thick on the bumper, But miraculously it dried, which I don't believe it, and it hammer toned, so I guess it's all right. There's a whole bunch of runs down on the bottom side and stuff, which you're not going to see, but I just kind of globbed it on the best I could, and it's already dry to the touch, so I guess it's okay. Yeah, it's only been on here for like maybe an hour, and it's super dry. So can I kind of like get this where it's got to be? Kind of. How do I do this without wrecking everything? Where's the bolt hole? Can't see nothing. Can't see. Where is it? How come I can't see? Oh, there we go. There's one. There's one. Man, that was nerve-wracking. One last thing we're going to add. I have these old New York State commercial plates, which I think I talked about a second ago, but I'm going to talk about them again. I had them on my plow Jeep, and now we're going to go on this truck. They used them from the 70s to up to 1986, and they are steel, but they're reflective. And I bought these from one of my older friends who's passed away now. I got these from his house years ago, and I had them on my plow Jeep for years, and now they're going on my plow Dodge. We'll be right back in the 80s, but how's that look? Man, bam. I think this bumper came out pretty neat. It's going to add a little bit of style to the back of the truck. Kind of look like a sport bumper. I like these big dongers on the end. I get enough paint on them. It's got some bare spots. I'll dust it in here when we get done with the video, but how's this one look? Ooh, not too bad. I think this bumper is a little stylish, and it's going to add protection. Like, it's pretty heavy steel, so if I do back into something, it'll bend it, but it won't smash the whole back of the truck up, so that's the point of the bumper, obviously. I might make a piece to go inside there and fill the gap, but I don't have anything to make it out of right now, so I'm not going to at this time. But it looks pretty good. I should measure, because it looks like this needs to go in and this needs to come out. I had it perfectly level. There we go. Or perfectly square to the truck. I made it fit. I think that one I had to take an 1/8 inch off just to get the sit right. The box is either not square or not square on the truck or whatever, but it looks good enough. It looks good with the receiver hitch and stuff. It looks like it's centered on the plate. So now we've got custom hammer toned silver bumpers on the front and the rear. If you missed the front one, go back and watch that. I built this awesome front one, which I labeled up on my stencil. And you can see the matching old plate on the front. But now we got custom hammer tone bumpers on our Dodge. And I'm just waiting for some parts to come from Amazon. I just got a new lead. This is my positive battery lead for the snowplow. So that's going to be jumpered off my kill switch. And then I'm going to mount a circuit breaker panel with some fuses here to run the headlights and the gumball light and stuff. And let's give you a sneak peek of that. Since this truck has square headlights, I'm going square headlight and square roof light mount. I've got these Hella driving lights that were on one of my dad's cars years ago. And then I've got this Rotobeam, Turbo Beam roof light. So if we go out to my brown truck, here on the brown truck, this is a round headlight 80 Dodge. So we got a round headlight theme. We got round headlights, round turn signals, round plow lights. Then up on the roof, I've got round KC, real KC highlighters or daylighters, and I've got my round gumball light. Now you see these aren't wired in right now. The wires are just loose there, but I am going to put another panel in this thing and wire this up that Rotobeam light works, and these KCs should work. So that truck is the 80 round headlight truck. Well, since this truck is the rectangular headlight truck and rectangular plow light truck, I'm going to have the rectangular theme continue. I'm doing a rectangular rear window protector, which you'll see in the next coming video. We're going to build that out and put the lights on it. And I have the rectangular turbo beam yellow light, and these guys are going to go up on here on the roof and make a tab and have these rectangular lights up here on the headache rack with a rectangular turbo beam. I think that'll be pretty cool, right? having all rectangular lights on this truck. And now let's hook up, let's stick this on the battery and see if this guy works. It should. Let's see. Oh, look at that. That's awesome. Oh, my one light is not good. The filament's all real super dim. Oh wait, it's picking up in intensity. What's going on with it? I wonder if it's got a bad contact. Because now she's working. That's awesome. And it's got that roto beam sound. You can hear the this has actually got motors and like rubber bands or chains. I can't see because it's cloudy, but it actually has electric motors. That's why it's so noisy. Look at that. That's awesome. So when we're plowing, we'll have this guy. So this is actually off on my old work trucks way back in the day. Oh, you know what? They're low electric motors with little drive screws that spin and spin. There's a gear on the bottom of these. But this thing is it's a something Tech Turbo Beam 2000. Turbo Beam 2000! Bam! Oh, here we go. Something Tech. It's all worn off, but it's awesome. This has got a mag mount on it. Oh, look at this. Rotors work good. Lamp out this side. Well, it came back to life. So it has magnets to hold it to a roof, but I think I'm going to actually bolt it down because actually if I put a new pad on it, let's go back up and look. We'll do sneak peek here. I have this thing, which I've been sitting on. Why trash it when you can stash it? I've been sitting on this thing for at least 10 years. They're throwing it out at work. It was the old mechanic made it. And then you see it has a mount for a round beacon light, which I just happen to have a round beacon light here, a trip light, brand new old stock trip light that I was going to put on the roof. But since we're going all rectangular now with the rectangular lights, we'll use that turbo beam with the rectangular hella driving lights. And since I'm getting this like fused relay panel, it's going to have, I think, 4 relays and like 6 fuses. I bought it from Amazon. It was like cheap, like 30 bucks. And that'll run power off the battery to power the whole thing up. I've got the old plow control on the dash hooked up with some toggle switches. And I'll use these to fire the relays. And then one relay will be the headlights, probably this big one. One will be the driving lights, and then one will be the beacon light. And I'll have all the controls there. And you can see here, I wired the plow up off camera, but I put the stock control for the plow here. I got to run power to that, so that'll be one of the fuse things. But these guys are, I think, 55 watt hella driving lights, so they're pretty. They'll need a relay to fire them up. So we'll put them up on there with the beam, so you can look forward to that in the future, upcoming video. And they'll probably be about it. We'll just wire up all the lights and stuff and get them working. And I think this thing's ready to be filled up with gas and fire up and back out of here. Once we do the back window protector, all the fabrication will be done. I can put some gas in the tank so I don't have to worry about welding around it with fumes. I can't think of anything I need to add to it right now. We'll fire it up and pull it on out of here, drive it around some, and then we'll pick something else to work on out here in the Project of Dreams area. Maybe that one. Maybe we'll bring that in and get that running and driving at least, and new brakes on the front of it so it's mobile. That'd probably be a good plan. So anyways, I'm really happy with my new custom rear bumper. It looks great. It actually, the paint, even though it screwed up, turned out good. I love my old 80s license plates. I'm going to bolt the sucker down, call her good. And we'll do one more. Like I said, we'll do the lights in the rear rack and wire up the controls and headlights and all that stuff next time. Ooh, I need a switch for the headlights as well. Gonna need another toggle switch. Thing's gonna have more switches in it than the space shuttle. But it'll be cool. And you'll see it next time, bam, here at the Quick Speed Shop.